Thank you for listening to the Russell Brand Fancast. So, I've been teasing for quite some time now about some interview with some bloke you might have heard of, called Russell Brand. And of course, not forgetting, of course, Gareth Roy was also there. So, I've been teasing that for a while now, and you're probably thinking, where is this bloody interview? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have to wait no more, because that interview is here for you right now. So, just a little bit of background on that and how it all came about. You're probably thinking, how does some chubby bloke get to meet Russell Brand and do an interview with him? Well, I went to his show in Northampton the night before this whole interview happened. I'd already sort of spoken via email to Jenny, who arranged for me to meet him that night, and I told him about the podcast and everything, and he was very interested in being on it, which was amazing. And so I went to London the next day. He said, "Oh, if you're about near London tomorrow, come to Global, and we'll record the interview." Of course, I didn't tell him I ain't going nowhere near London tomorrow. Why would I be? Russell Brand invites you to London. You go. So, me and my friend Dan Edge, we took a trip to London, and what you're about to hear, is what came of that trip. So, enough of me rabbiting. Let's hear what Russ had to say.
Go on then, what do you need to know?
Okay, well, thank you first of all for your time today. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you, thanks for doing it. Tell us what your podcast is, what's on it?
So, it's just me talking about what you've done from rebrand all the way up to yesterday.
Oh, really?
So I try and talk about everything. I try and review everything, but obviously, being a bit of a fan, it's very one-sided.
Oh, thank you. That's the way I prefer it. I don't want any balance. Now, we're here with Gareth Roy, who is the producer of most of my work not Rebrand, actually, didn't produce that. When did we start working together with Gal?
It was 2006, One Leicester Square.
Did you watch One Leicester Square?
I didn't at the time, but I've seen it
Get
since.
out!
Ruined it. I should have just said yes.
You've seen it since, eh?
I've seen it since, yeah. It's, some of it's on YouTube.
Yeah, there's that interview with Will Ferrell.
That was a biggie.
That's the favourite one, I think, generally.
What about Adam Sandler?
That was good, because I got a break in Hollywood
Yeah.
as a result of that.
That was...
Didn't want to go and see his film, though, did you?
Yeah, you're meant to watch people's film to interview them, and funnily enough, we're meant to go and watch Al Gore's film after this. But guess what? I don't want to, so I've not changed that much.
No.
And because if we do go and see Al Gore's film, we could interview Al Gore. But I would like to interview Al Gore, but I don't want to go to a screening.
Yeah.
I want to go home. I've got a cold.
We did go, though, because do you remember Sharon Osbourne was there?
Yeah, with
the
some dogs.
And they were sniffling away.
The film was Click. So
That's
Adam
right.
Sandler was promoting Click, where he had a magic remote control that could make reality do stuff. Doesn't that sound like an outmoded idea now in this day and age? And it was only...
And then?
I was just going to say, and what did you think of the film, if you could be honest?
He's always good, isn't he?
Yeah, he's always good,
He's
Adam
always
Sandler.
good.
He's always
Because
good.
he's warm, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
got that everyman quality.
That's right.
Like Matt.
As Matt claims. He claims to be an everyman, but he's a very unusual, peculiar person. What do you think of the Matt Morgan Appreciation Society?
I'm on there.
Could you bring it down from within?
With your help, Russell, I reckon I could.
Because they're doing an event soon, August the 11th.
Oh, right, okay.
Is that what you posted earlier?
Yeah, I posted on there earlier because I met Matt and G out the front.
Ooh.
And I took a picture with them. Within half an hour, we got over 156 likes or something like
Ooh.
that.
So
my
we
God.
reckon that if we take one with you before we leave, then
Yes.
we'll post that and see if you can beat.
If it doesn't, I'll literally commit suicide.
Maybe not then, just
So that's not take it. There's no point risking your life over a photograph, is there? Unless it's proves the existence of aliens or something. Then it would be worth it.
Right.
Come on, do your interview
Go on
now,
then.
Dan. Because you're both called Dan and you've not done any kind of interview yet.
No, I'll just let you talk because That's what we like to hear.
No.
Ask him some
So,
questions. then.
all right then. So far on the tour, what's been your most memorable moment and why?
There was a power cut last night.
Yeah, that was good.
We
That
thought
was.
that might be your moment.
It was, because it was a change from the norm. Like, I think it's good when Carl Jung, he says, anytime something happens that you didn't plan for, this, he says, is the opportunity for God to come into your life. Carl Jung would have meant, I don't know what Carl Jung meant, but what I reckon Carl Jung meant was that beneath material reality is a secondary reality that's harder to observe because it is made of more subtle forms of energy, but nonetheless it's there. And sometimes if you're attuned to it, you can receive and understand this energy. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Wow.
Also, it means you can be naughty, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Be honest. That's why you like it.
Like to be naughty.
Mischievous.
Means I can go away from the script a little bit and have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, that's right. Whether that script is the script of everyday life or even a performance space, Dan.
Indeed.
Very good. So when you're performing, do you prefer to just sort of do your improv, or do you prefer to stick to what you've written?
I think that the highest pleasure is improvised stuff when it's going well. That's the absolute apex. But in the world of improvisation, you're playing a more high-risk game. There's always the risk of subpar improvisation. I was listening to a gig that I'd done recently, and it was for I go to 12-step groups, and it was a sort of an anonymous 12-step group thing for drug people, right? And like. So the material would have been mostly spontaneous or just ideas. I'd have gone, oh yeah, that'd be funny. And I was listening to like the first 5 minutes. I was thinking, oh my God, this is brilliant. It's all rip-roaringly funny. Then though, there's about a 4-minute period where the standard drops, like still all right, but it drops. And I thought, that's what happens when your things aren't honed. So things like last night, or like, you know, the second half, for example, was all scripted. And like... I like doing that also, but like the thing is when something's completely new is you're completely in the moment. And like so Gareth pointed out, there was a thing last night where the man had filled in a survey and said his most embarrassing moment was when he'd had a threesome and he couldn't get an erection, and the worst bit of the threesome said this man pushing his winky into the lady's mouth. Floppy winky. It said floppy winky because Gareth produces all of does all of the surveys and prepares it all. So it says like a floppy winky, and I said in the moment. It's like putting a sleeping bag back in your loft. And that image made me very happy to say that it came in the moment.
You could almost see, even from... I was probably about halfway back, and even from there you could see that, as you said that, there was a moment where you thought, that's actually brilliant. Like, that just happened.
I got excited, I was relishing it like a little show-off, wasn't I? Like a little 7-year-old girl, all pleased with herself, twirling about in a gingham frock at a picnic where everyone has already left. Just ants on a Jaffa cake.
What was I going to say to you? When I first came to see you, it was back, it was just before you went to America. You did a one-off show in Northampton. And back then you were doing a lot of stuff where you'd just read stuff out of the newspaper and just take the piss out of it and just make it funny. Is there any chance you ever doing that sort of stuff again, or have you moved away from that now?
No, we could do that again. But it's, the thing is when the gigs are bigger, it feels more risky because I'm sat down in a chair and I'm looking down at a newspaper and it shuts the audience off. And sometimes, nowadays more than ever, local newspapers are not as nuanced and as particular. Their stories are all centrally sourced, so you don't get as many funny little local cat up a tree, raven in a barnyard type stories. You get more sort of news, like sort of centralised news agenda and loads of adverts and stuff, and then really bleak, awful, tragic things about sort of lack of social care, underfunded things. So that's why that's waned somewhat.
Okay. So,
You've got to do 2 questions to Gareth now, and it'll be about production and writing and and managing difficult talent. Those are the sort of areas you should be thinking about.
Managing difficult talent, not you, of course.
There you go, see? Because
Okay,
Gareth for a while had to work with Alex Zane. Very punishing.
Okay,
Go on then.
Do we ask the controversial question then? It's up to you whether you answer it or not.
You might want to
Who
talk
is the
about
most difficult talent you worked with?
Well, it's Alex Zane, isn't it? Just heard.
Established. Just reaffirming that point.
No, he's lovely, Alex Zane, actually. I did work with him for a bit. He was lovely. Everyone is.
How can we get onto Alex Zane in a Russell Brand fan podcast in 2017?
He gets everywhere.
Oh, he's unstoppable.
No, I haven't really worked with difficult talent. I mean, look,
What about, hold on a minute, you did that podcast where you had to... Wasn't there a big argument with Katie Hopkins or something? Didn't you produce something quite recently?
oh, that's right. But I wasn't really working with the talent. I did a show about voting, young people voting. It was on Facebook Live.
Which I've always said they should do.
And Katie Hopkins and Bob Geldof were there. But it was kind of produced...
It's like you're trying to do shows deliberately with the people who have been most cruel to me.
That's true,
Katie
isn't it?
Hopkins, she's hurt my feelings before. Bob Geldof called me and see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. It wasn't my idea. I don't mind. I don't know. I mean, look, talent is... I think it's a bit... You can't really think of it as talent versus, you versus talent, because they're just people. And I think I always think about working with talent. It's just about how would you work with your mates, and you would have to ultimately be reasonable and explain why certain things are happening and be as kind of honest and open as you can. And then obviously you learn certain techniques as you do more and more producing in terms
What are
of
these techniques you've been doing?
lies, lots of lies. But no, I mean, I just think for me, I've usually worked with, and certainly most of my career I've worked with Russell. So it was about we began working together because I thought Russell was really good at what he did. And at that point, it was mainly stand-up that I'd seen. I hadn't really seen him do TV stuff, and I was just hoping that we could convert the talent that I'd seen in Russ doing stand-up into various TV formats, because at the time I was a TV producer. And, yeah, the early days, they were a bit mad, weren't they? I mean... But I was 26, I don't know what you were 28 or something. I mean, we were young, and then Matt as well. All three of us did it together, and we were all young and into the same kind of comedy. Just a way of working out how to take the things that we all enjoyed and iron out some different difficulties, most of which were how do we get this on the telly. And so basically I took a few beatings from the bosses, but other than that it was